Welcome to the first day of Lightning Talks. We've got 8 talks, 7 speakers all lined up. And remember, while they are switching over here, if you want to do an advertisement, wander up and sit in one of these 2 chairs. I will hand you this microphone in the on position. Say what you got to say, give it back to me, and I'll put it back into mute so that they can do their thing. If, for some reason, they are still clapping for the speaker when you get ready to advertise, don't start. I won't count the time against you. If you are a speaker and you're ready to go and they're still clapping for the advertiser for some reason, don't start. I won't count it against you. Your time starts when you make a speaker move. I'll leave that to your imagination. And that should just about do it. Remember, I do have the bell at 4, the gong at 5, and we're going to try to finish a little bit early because there's some extra stuff happening after us, so they're going to get it all taken care of. And that's it. Thank you.
So yeah, hello everybody. This counts as a speaker move, I think. My name is Maischein and I'm from Germany in Frankfurt, and about every year since 20 years ago or something like that, we host, well, no, we don't host, we organize the German Perl workshop, a workshop mainly about Perl, but since I have already met, many programmers who use Perl here that I didn't know, and programmers that even are from Germany, I'm inviting all of you to come to the next Perl workshop in Germany in 2024. We plan it to be in that week from the 15th to 17th of April. We don't have the location pinned down yet. We have a prospective location near Erlangen. Sorry? Oh, oops, yeah, it's the wrong year, but I hope you can manage. Yeah, what can you expect? It will be 3 days of various talks in German language about the Perl language. And English talks are also welcome, and ideally all slides will be in English, so that even if you don't understand what people are talking about, you still maybe can follow the talk a bit. And that's already everything I can show you, tell you right now. But if you are interested, please follow our RSS feed and also come talk to me if you think, or if you are wondering whether a topic you want to present would be fit for that. In general, anything that you maybe can somehow relate to programming or even to Perl is welcome. And I hope to see you next year in Germany. Thank you.
Hello to everyone. My name is Zeno Tajoli. I'm from Italy, and I do a little talk about how migrate an old Koha, a very old Koha, to a new Koha. Lesson and tips about the topic. Well, when you start, an old Koha is a more than 5 years old Koha. That is my definition. But you think very easily something that are 10 years old Koha. It's not difficult, especially if you search someone that is not done by BibLibre or by PTF or other firms, but are single users around the world. All right, what you need to do is start. You need to find the exact version of Koha. You need to be very correct on this version. Then go to Git Koha and download the same version. Then start the work. The 2 tools that you need to use is diff and phpMyAdmin. Why phpMyAdmin? Because you install from Git code, you use PHP to download the SQL in text. You use PHP to download in the other SQL of the installed version, then use diff to diff the code. You need to be very quickly to use correct way because it's very difficult to do diff between SQL code. Then you check SQL, yes. So Perl code, index definition, that is zebra, the index of Koha. Then XSTL file, that are a specific file to show mark 21 or Unimark data. Then this is update database.pl, the main tool. It's a tool that do the migration on SQL level. You need to do a test with a dump, and then so what happens. It's better that you find to use. Better MariaDB than Oracle or MySQL. Use a Linux Debian as old as you can, because it's difficult to use an old version with a new Debian. And use probably the database as a proxy. You do the migration on the database, but don't think to use it to show the result with Koha code. In fact, what you need to do is to operate a migration between different setup, because in the it's standard for Koha community to write code of a migration using the setup and the standards of MySQL when it's done the migration. A new migration update is done every 6 months. That means that we have a code that is written in 20 years that use a very different setup every 6 months. I can imagine how this code doesn't work if you start from a 20-year base code with a new one. So good, run the code, go to Mozilla. If you write, oh, this doesn't work, Mozilla code, check. Mozilla code, check. Fix the PL code in your data, your situation, and redone, redone every time as you finish. And evaluate the Perl code customization that probably the user done. Stay on Zebra, not XSLT. If you have a single user library, not use Elasticsearch. Port Zebra customization, and check XSLT customization, because probably XSLT customization works. And so you don't need to redone the work. Take the old XSLT and put in the new. That is something that the librarian accept very well, because XSLTs show library data, and librarians like very much library data as they used. Then web interface, this is the last thing. Probably a mix of CLA and system preference. Well, do the work. Check. Probably you receive not very well results, and then probably tack. That's one. I finish.
So hi, this is a quick advert. We're from PTFS, or I'm from PTFS Europe, and so are some of others of us, and we're hiring. So this is an advert for a sales executive specifically. Doesn't have to be UK based, but will be quite a lot in the UK. So if you're planning to move to the UK, if you're not there already, and are interested in that type of role, it might be for you. However, we do also hire overseas, and we have one of our developers, Pedro, who's not here today because he's on the Azores, and that's where he lives. Which, if you don't know where the Azores is, it's in the middle of the Atlantic. And he works for us, and we think he has a great time. He tells us he does. So you might have a great time if you came and worked for us. We're hiring.
All right. We all need a little bit beauty and surprise. That's why I wrote the Harmonograph, which is a nice tool. It is on CPAN. As you can see, yes, as you can see, and the module is actually called App GUI Harmonograph because it uses GUI. if you're not a British nobleman from a time when there was no radio and other things to amuse you, you maybe had a harmonograph, 3 pendulum, which together move pen and pencil. So you can slowly watch drawing such nice graphics. This is today's simplified version of it. There are DIY kits, but of course we are software developers. So this is the book I read, which brought me the inspiration. And I wrote it in Perl. So we are not even bound by the laws of physics and can, yeah. So when you start it, that's how it looks. You have 4 tabs. And on the left side, you have a preview because it's quite computation heavy. So if you have a full drawing, you have to push the draw button. Yeah, if you have to y, x and y frequencies, the ratio of 3 to 1, you see it's very simple. But if you nudge the frequency a bit, it starts to get interesting. Or if you have another ratio, and you can start in the damping, x and y separated. It's something you can't do in real life. And it starts, it's more interesting. And if you draw dots and not combining lines, it's maybe more what you want. You can put offsets and a lot of other knobs, so it can play around, get surprising results. Or get a little bit more offset as the starting point of the pendulum. Yeah, and play around until you get something nice. Of course, you can every time put on init, restart, and even use the 3rd pendulum, which is a wobbly movement. Yeah, not rotation, but wobbly. Rotation have we also. That's the original also not had. Yeah, here you have the wobble and the x and y. You get more complicated graphics, and when the wobble has a little bit acceleration, it gets more interesting. And now you can play and play. You get lots of different results. We have even use of color gradients, which also not possible in the original, and you can produce nice graphics if you like, and also save the ini files, so you can play on with the nice graphics at some time later. Yeah, and even in the newest version, you have not only sine and cosine, also hyperbolic and other functions, so you go in uncharted territory with it. I even want to adapt rotation matrix to get in really crazy, but you know, people have plans. You know, let's look, and that is some of. Na komm, focus. Ah yeah. Yeah, that are some of the graphics I produced with it. And so, it's maybe one of the most beautiful, but it's a result of a bug we had we had in the rotation matrix. And because I want to reintroduce the bug as a feature, I want to have features to extend the rotation matrix, but it's not in yet. Yeah, okay, thank you. That was talk 1. Thank you. And this nice program has a sibling called the cell graph. Also a nice toy, not about such graphs, but also on CPAN, but that's I'd already talked, because it's graph in the sense Stephen Wolfram would understand. This nice, or sometimes not such a nice person, of course, is famous for the book, New Kind of Science, where he showed the simplest possible graph, which is just a function, and the upper row is just the input, and the lower row is the output. So are your state of your neighboring cells have such a state, the result be another. You know? And so you have a single one-dimensional line of cells, and the development over time, you have the horizontal axis. Yeah, this one you can draw This is the same thing as rules. So you have, for instance, if you have the cell is white and the left and the right neighbor is white, the result will be white again in the next round. Yeah? Cellular automaton. You got it, or is there a question? Okay. I also extended so I can hoops to logical related things, and the same rules apply as with a harmonograph. It draws the first lines, and when you're full, because it takes a little bit time to draw it, then you push the draw button. Yeah, that's a Sierpinski triangle, of course, you can get with it. This is still boring. And I have also action rules to get more variance into it. Yeah, you can define the starting row, not only with a single dot like Wolfram did. And of course, you have a color tab to bring more colors. How I did it with a color module, which I will talk tomorrow. But please come to my talk. I did also some additional rules which to make graphics more beautiful. I will explain. Please, browser, come. Yeah. Yep. This is the famous Rule 30, which Wolfram talked so much about. But I think from a graphic designer's point of view, it's not beautiful. That's why I also introduced the feature you can mirror it to get more interesting stuff. And this is still two colors. You have more grades of shades of gray. It's more interesting, and this is one of the purposes. So you can really produce beautiful images, and same rules apply as with a harmonograph. If you like something, you can save even the INI, so you can reload the INI and tinker on at some point later with it to make more nice reticle. This is all examples. And many, many more. Like I said, the harmonograph and the cell graph are just two siblings. There is a lot of more in the pipeline, and when I got to it. Yeah, thank you.
I'll go, and hi, I'm Julian. I work in the UK for a company called Oleo, and we are indeed hiring Perl developers. So if you want to move to the UK and not work in sales, but work in tech, you can come talk to me.
I work for a firm called PaperOp. The head office is in Switzerland. I'm working from Austria. Remote is okay. Chunk of the stuff is in the UK and South Africa, and I believe we're hiring because we've certainly got open job positions. We want a DBA, a payment developer, and a project manager. At least that's what the open job positions say.
Okay, so I'm here to introduce you guys to the CPAN Security Working Group. This is partly an introduction that has been already done at the Perl and the RACU conference in Toronto earlier this year. But I also want to introduce and invite you guys to join us. So we were created during the Perl Toolchain Summit in Lyon in April. There's a bunch of us who thought that the state of security on CPAN is something that we could improve. And there's a whole lot of topics around that, which I'm going to carefully introduce you to now. So what do we care about? There's a whole lot of things, and I'm going to show you a few of them. We want to make a vulnerability index. There's already something out there. It doesn't completely interact with existing vulnerability indexes. So we can audit and track those. We'll see about how this interacts with CVEs and stuff. There's an ongoing discussion there that we're trying to figure out. We're interested in supply chain security. Figure out where does the software come from, who has wrote it, and when it ends up at some company or user, is it still the same software? Has somebody tampered with it and on the way somewhere? We care about software bill of materials, basically a standardized way to track metadata and dependencies across ecosystems. I will be giving a presentation about this on Wednesday. you're quite welcome to join me there. And this is both for figuring out what has been installed, but also any related information that we, in general, are also introducing here. We found out that having third-party monitoring of changes can be a useful way to detect if there's something funny going on. So transparency logs is something we're looking into. Security patch tooling is also interesting. This is more what the Debian community already does when it applies security patches to existing vulnerabilities when their upstream isn't responsive enough. Maybe we find out if something like this could also be introduced to CPAN. This is an ongoing discussion. And we also want to make sure that incident communication and teaching and sharing information about security issues is something that improves over time. There's a lot that can be done there. Not everybody in the Perl community cares about security. We're trying to raise the level of caring a little bit. And there's more. Software composition analysis is something that is super interesting, where we try to figure out and reverse engineer what's going on. We also want to care a little bit about the governance around this project. Like, how will we operate in order to fix funding, for example, and make decisions. And one of my personal pet peeves is to do something about the metadata, making it possible for Perl packages to explicitly state which out of ecosystem dependencies they have in a consistent manner. And there's also privacy issues and all kinds of stuff. So very quickly, if my computer lets me go, there are a couple laws that are relevant for this. In the US, it's an executive order, and there are 2 directives in EU. And we want to create some awareness around that. And we are looking to get order in stuff, basically fixing. We are Garu, Brenno, Graham, Ingi, Andreas, Leon, Olaf, René, Sam, Salve, me, Stig, Tim, Maren, and a bunch of more people eventually. We want to see you guys. This is the picture proof. I'm there. This was from Lyon. This is Stig and Ingi and me and Leon and Maren and Brenno from left. And I'd like to offer you an invitation. Please come with us if you care about security and have some tweets to spare, or maybe have a company that you work for that cares about stuff like that, an employer that would like you to spend some of your working hours to increase and better the security on CPAN. You can find us on security.metacpan.org. We hang out on IRC, as many Perl communities do. And we have an email list. You're quite welcome to contact us there if you have actual incidents. We're trying to limit our scope to CPAN specifically. But please reach out. Thank you.
This is just a quick announcement that Koha US will have their annual conference in September of this year from the 20th to the 23rd. You can register to attend in person, of course, or online for free. The dates are September 20th through 23rd. Online registration is again free, and you can stream and watch all presentations online. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Lars Noodén. I'm formerly an electronic information services librarian, and I'm here to do a quick lightning talk on an RSS scraper which produces GemText. It's a suite of 3 Perl scripts, and they connect together with pipes and run by a cron job. It's not the most efficient way, but this is was supposed to be a temporary solution, but it's going on close to a year at this point. So anyway, it was supposed to be temporary. There's 3 scripts, and the first one fetches RSS and extracts the URLs. The second one takes the HTML out of the via the URLs, and then the third one exports the GemText. It's got quite a few modules, but the key ones are the user agent, time and parse date, the XML feed, and then the tree builder XPath. There's fourth one here, that's the most fun. If you have a Gemini client available, then the address is there at the bottom, was at the bottom. But okay, so that's the talk.
Hi. Can I steal time? We talked a bit about Koha and coding. I wanted to show something. Koha development is test-driven. We usually start by coding our tests and then writing the actual code. This is how I started Koha testing Docker, which we talked about a bit. The first thing we do is we create a branch like that. For example, I prepared some code, tiny code. So the first thing is to pick the right file. In this case, it is under the DB dependent test, so it's a full stack test. It uses the DB, etc. This is the test_more file, a generic one. I'm adding a method to a class, so I'm adding a subtest for that method. This is the usual syntax for Perl tests, but we have this schema storage begin thing, which starts a transaction. Then we have a tool which we call object test builder. It creates objects on the database based on the DBIC schema. It's kind of cool. In this case, I just used Perl tidy because we ship a Perl tidy RC that you should be using. I'm creating a patron which is 22 years old. And if I wanted to add a test, I would do something like patron is grown up. Is that correct? No, it's okay. Okay. This one is grown up. If I set a new date, like date of birth, store. I won't have enough time. But I do something like this. And I set it to 2. I will expect it not to be grown up. So not grown up. And I think we want to check what happens if there is no date of birth. I would ask for that. Something like that. And I would like the method to return undef. You should put some explanations there, but we're fine. So this is how it should look like. If you want to run the test, you need the method to exist so it doesn't break on runtime errors. So this is, we could run this and it will fail, of course. Let's try. If you're on Koha testing Docker, you can do this to get into the Koha testing Docker, and then you can prove the blah, blah, blah. And it will fail, sure. So we will start doing the right thing here. I will set a variable for my age is self get age. I think that's the name. Return unless defined age. That will cover the undef use case, and then we do something like return age In Argentina, it's 18. So that would be the method. You need a pod. Always add a pod. Yeah, I failed on the count. I should have practiced. Okay, so we should run it. It takes 20 seconds. This didn't work as I expected. Okay. And that's how you do it. And you make one commit for the unit test and one commit for the method. Thank you.
Sweet. So I'm just making up this one as I go along. Kia ora, my name is Chris Cormack. I'm one of the original developers of Koha. I'm going to teach you how to speak Te Ao Māori in 5 minutes so that you can pronounce Koha, Koha, not Koha or all sorts of other things. So Te Ao Māori is the indigenous language of New Zealand, and it is super easy compared to most other languages because the vowel sounds never change. So we have 5 vowel sounds. A, e, I, o, u. Do you want to all do it with me? A, e, I, o, u. So whatever consonants you put in front of those vowel sounds, the vowel sounds are the same. So there's a really, so you can go aha, ka, ma, na, pa, ra, nga, fa. So the a never changes. That's all of the consonants. So I would teach you a song, but I can't sing. But so you can do that same thing. E, he, ke, me, ne, pe, re, te, re, nga, fa. And so that the vowel sounds are very consistent. So ko, ha. So when you see a Māori word written, take the consonants out and just sound out the vowels. So if you have koha, you take the K, you take the A out, H out, or A. Put the K and the H back in, koha. So easy. So now, any Māori word you think, like here, which is another Māori word, or there's another one we use, mana, in the Koha community, M-A-N-A, take the M and the A-N out, and it just mana. And there, so you can drop. So if you, as long as you get those vowel sounds, a, e, I, o, u, then you can pronounce Koha correctly, you can pronounce my middle name correctly, you can come to New Zealand, you can speak in an official language. Thank you.